Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, today we have a depth chart and call-up video for you where BW and I go through the Oilers depth chart as is right now, August 30th, 2023, and who they could potentially call up through the year. Also in there, they'll have BW stats of how he thinks each player will do. Well, certain players will do, as well as the record for the Oilers. Sorry for the loud bang. But anyways, let's get into it. This is for the call-ups. It's pretty simple. We both picked 3 players who we think would be called up to the main roster at any point throughout the year, albeit injuries or players not performing, or hey, the player in the AHL is just doing really good. And he's able to get called up because of his performance down in the AHL. So first off, his first call-up is going to be Lane Pedersen. Now, Lane Pedersen is a pretty easy choice. He is a rostered player, and he's making the money on a 2-year deal. Perfect for him. His next call-up is Ben Gleason, a defenseman. Again, that one to me is a little tricky, but hey, defense get hurt. We already know we're going to be running an 11-7 system. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. And his third and final call-up and PTO, Sam Gagner. Good pick if he gets on the team. I'll get into more of him being on the team or not on the team after that in a little bit. But for now, he has him as a call-up prospect. Good. And mine are Raphael Lavoie. I think he's been around a while, and I honestly think that this is the stepping season for Lavoie. If he wants to be on this roster, this is the year to show the brass, hey, I'm an NHL player. I'm not just an AHL goal scorer. I can do things in the NHL as well. Time will tell, maybe. The other signing that I like, that I think could see time in the NHL, is Drake Caggiula, former Oiler. He's been around. He's seasoned. He could get his call up, and who knows, he might just stick. Will it happen? I don't know. It depends again on depth, injuries, if there's a problem. If he's doing well and performing well in the AHL, a lot of things could happen. My PTO is Brandon Suter. Now, I know everybody's going to get mad. Well, Gagner's the guy. Gagner. I get the sentimental. I get the heart. I get he's an Oiler, once an Oiler, always an Oiler. But for me, Suter, he brings more than Gagner does. He's a physical center. He can slot very well on the fourth line, which I'll get into that a little later. But for now, he'll be trying to make roster. And again, as much as everyone's like, well, why can't you sign both PTOs? It's just not physically possible, logistically not possible, roster-wise not possible, and I'll get into that later on in the video as well. Moving on, because that's what we do. We don't like to be slow hoes around here. We're going to go to the player projections. Now, again, these are just BWs. I don't do the whole player projection, this, that, the other. I don't do that because a lot of things can happen. Streaks can happen. Injuries can happen. Guy just had a bad year. Like, too many variables happen for me to put myself out there. Call me chicken. It is what it is. So BW has McDavid getting 50 goals, 110 assists, 160 points. I will say this. I think McDavid is going to get more than 50 goals, and I think he's going to average 110 assists. I think he's going to be between the 170 and 180 point range. If he goes higher, perfect. If he goes lower, but the team on average is scoring more without him on the ice, I'm okay with that too. I'd love to see this depth scoring. I'd love to see our third line and our second line produce at the same clip as 50-point seasons. Like, if two guys on the third line got 50 to 60-point seasons, I'm ecstatic with that. Draisaitl, he has 55 goals, 82 assists, 137 points. For me, I don't see that being realistic because Draisaitl will be on his own line. Now, I think Draisaitl's going to pot 50 because he's going to get power play time. I don't see him getting 82 assists. He will be over 100 in points. I'm going to say 110, 120 range. Again, this is why I don't like putting those numbers out there because, again, he could end up playing on McDavid's wing. For all we know, Brown could just have a miserable year and just have to play second line or third line. And that's it. That's all she wrote, right? Like, it's Draisaitl, McDavid, Kane. Or it could be Draisaitl with Hyman and Brown, or Draisaitl, Brown, and Hopkins have Hyman. Like, the top six is so interchangeable, and that's why I love this roster and the way that I have it, the way that VW has it. I think the way that Ken Holland is going to construct it, along with Jay Woodcroft. Show a blank on the coach's name for a second there. I think the way they construct the rosters, those top six will be interchangeable. The team is good enough to have interchangeable top six, and the drop-off, unfortunately, for this roster is the third and fourth lines, which we will address later. Moving on to his also predictions for Kane, 43, 43, 86. Now, a healthy Kane, I think, will reach 50 goals for the first time in his career. I think he's going to hit 50-50. I think he's going to hit the 50-50, 100-mark season. Just me, I think playing with McDavid a full year, you can't help but hit that. And he's going to get number 2 power play time. So I just think that 50-50, 100-point season is attainable for Kane. Again, injuries and whatnot can happen, and it'll suck if it does happen. Hyman, on the other hand, I think he's going to get... BW here has 34, 47, 81. So that's pretty reasonable. I think 81 points in a season, that's pretty good. Bouchard, he thinks he's going to get 13 goals, 60 assists, 78 points. I think the assists and goals are going to switch a little bit. I think he's going to obtain 25 goals personally, get less assists, but hey, he's on the power play. He might get a lot of assists on the power play, so he might get more points. We will see. We don't know, right? And for Brown, he thinks 33, 37, 70-point season. Brown hasn't played a full season in a couple of years. I don't know what Brown can be. Can Brown be a 40-goal guy? Can Brown be an 80-point guy? Can he be a 30? For me, I think 20 and 20 is reasonable. I think 40 points is a good benchmark. If he goes over, fantastic. If he goes under, if he helps the team do other things, fantastic too. McLeod, he has McLeod playing a big role this year with 15 goals, 30 assists, 45 points. I like Cloud. Don't get me wrong. I adore the guy. I think the guy has grit. The guy has heart. The guy is an Oiler. I just don't see him putting up numbers. Could prove me wrong. Like I said, if that third line somehow, some ways becomes more impactful, so we're not relying on the juggernaut of McDavid, Draisaitl. We don't need to rely on those two juggernauts as much this year. I think the team will be okay. As for Holloway as the last skater, he has Holloway getting 12 goals, 24 assists, 36 points. So as you can see, he has Holloway, and we're going to get into the depth of the lineup. He has Holloway as an everyday player. I personally think Holloway is a fourth line player. He'll play 5 to 10 minutes. And if that's the case, then maybe he might be just AHL material right now. But hey, if he jumps up to the third line, and again, interchangeable, top 6, big things can happen. I'm not going to say 36 is low. I'm not going to say 36 is high. I think that's a pretty good number. 36. He could hit 40 points, and he could hit 20 points. Like, it's all up in how he has bounced back and how his year goes. Like, training camp is going to be a big thing for me. I'm going to keep an eye on training camp this year. Yes, training camp is a few days away. As if you have heard, McDavid has told everybody to show up in Edmonton September 5th. So, everybody's in Edmonton September 5th, working out, doing their stuff, having fun. The rookie showcase is September 15th to the 18th. Main camp starts September 15th officially. Preseason's the 22nd. Wow, that's a lot of stuff coming up in September. It's only a couple days away. As for the goalies, Skinner, 34 wins. Campbell, 21 wins. So that's a 55-win season. I'm bullish on that. I don't like predicting wins for goalies. I think they're going to both play 50-50 or 55-45. I think that Campbell's going to have himself a year this year, and we're going to be finding it hard to put Skinner net at points this year because Campbell is going to have one a year. Coming off a really poor start last year, be it his mental, the physical wear and tear of being moved and signing with a new team, getting to know the system, getting to know the guys. I think a lot of the numbers for both Skinner and Campbell are going to rely on the defense, which I will get more into that as the video goes on as well. Final records, I have 57-20-5. I have the Oilers winning the Pacific and the Stanley Cup. 57 wins, that's not a bad season, right? BW has 55 wins, 22 losses, and 5 overtime losses, winning the present. Not only winning the Pacific Division, but winning the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup. Boy, the President's Trophy curse, may that not be a thing this year. Because that would be rough. So we're going to just quickly skim over my roster. Bless me, sneeze. Now, my roster, obviously my call-ups are Lavoie, Drake, and Kajula. My PTO signing is Suter. First line I have Evander Kane, McDavid, and Brown. Yes, Brown is penciled in on the first line for now because I think that would be the best choice to start the season. Especially in training camp, see what we got. You know what I'm saying? Second line again, Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Now this is where I was kind of fiddling with myself, thinking, hey, can Hopkins just play third line center? And we just see what we have, right? Like, and like I said, if he's the third line center, who jumps up, right? And that's where the depth of the Oilers is really challenged after the top six. And let's not kid ourselves, they need to step up. They need to be better. The third and fourth lines need to produce. You've seen it with every other team. They have third and fourth lines that's pot goals, timely goals. They're not just out there going up and down the ice. My main thing is if you're third and fourth line, don't be a negative. Don't be a -1 on the ice every night. Just do your best to keep the other team off the score sheet, pot a few, help out. Third line, I do have Dylan Holloway, Ryan McLeod, and Warren Foegele. Now this is where I get kind of attached, not unattached to players. For me personally, if Warren Foegele was to be dealt, I think that would help the Oilers because whoever he gets dealt for, that they could bring in some guy for Warren Foegele. Like, I wish the best for Foegele. I want the best for Foegele, but last season was kind of a downer year, and I think he needs to bounce back. My fourth line has Matthias Janmark, Lane Pedersen, and Derek Ryan. Yes, I think Pedersen starts the season as a fourth line center. Now, that's not to say that if Brandon Sutter gets the PTO and signs a deal, that could change. Put Sutter in there, put Pedersen in the AHL. That's my way of thinking. I think you start Pedersen there. You've given him the contract. why not have him be the guy to start? My defense first line pairing doesn't change. It's CC and Nurse. I liked that pairing. A lot of people didn't. I think Nurse and CC have a lot to prove this year, and I think they'll be better defensively. I think Nurse has grown his game defensively, and he's trying to find his game offensively. And it's either you're too offensive, not defensive, or you're too defensive and not offensive. He finds that balance. I think he'll be all right. My second pairing is Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard. Can you imagine a whole year with Ekholm and Bouchard? They were good after the trade deadline. Once we acquired Ekholm, the team started to play a little differently defensively. A little more in your face, punch you in the mouth, ask your mother how you feeling later. And I think the team needs more of that. They need more umph. The defense needs to be more sure when they make defensive plays, whether to jump the line, back up, give the line, hold the net, what have you, go in the corner. And I think Ekholm, for a full season of Ekholm, you're going to see a big jump in Bouchard's defensive playstyle and the team's defensive playstyle as a whole. My third line, I have Brett Kulak and Vincent Desharnais. Again, we're going to go 11-7. Broberg is going to be the seventh defenseman most nights. I think Desharnais has earned the role. I think because of the physicality that Desharnais can bring and the 1 year and plus playoffs that he played, I think he's just going to take that extra step. Again, goaltenders, I think, are going to play 50-50. Stewart and Campbell, interchangeable. Extra forwards, Lavoie, Kajula, Seth Griffin, Brad Malone, Greg McKegg, James Hamlin, Alexander Bogarts, Tyler Tullio, Matvey Petrov. I think this is a make-or-break year for a few of these guys. Greg McCraig, James Hamlin, and Tyler Tullio. Xander Bogart, he's still young. I think he still has time to grow in the AHL and probably is a year or two away. My extra defenseman is Marcus Niemelainen, Ben Gleason, Philip Kemp, Noel Heffenmeyer, Cam Dineen. Again, a lot of those defensemen are years away. I don't know. Honestly, this could be the year for Niemelainen to either decide if he's NHL ready or is he a trade piece to bring in something different at trade deadline. That's just my thoughts. That's just my sense. A lot can ride on how the Oilers are doing a trade deadline, who's in, who's out, and what that. Extra goalies are Calvin Pickard and Olivier Rodrigue. Now, we've seen Rodrigue do great things in the AHL. Let's hope he continues his rise to an NHL job, maybe back up in a few years, or a starter in a few years. I think it'll be Skinner Rodrigue after the Campbell contract is done, but that's jumping up to things right. And now we got the BW. Full roster breakdown. He's got the CallUps, Lane Pedersen and Ben Gleason. He's got Sam Gagner as the PTO, extra forward Lavoie, Kajula, Pedersen, Griffith, Malone, McKay, Hamlin, Bogart, Tullio, Petrov. Same as I, extra D obviously, and the goalie Pickard and Rodrigue. This is where we get things interesting here. First line same, Evander Kane, McDavid. No, sorry, he put Hyman in the first line. My bad on that. He's got Evander Kane, McDavid, and Hyman. Pretty solid first line last season, worked for us. I think it could work. Like I said, I think it work again. That's where the top six are interchangeable. Everybody can play with everybody, and that's what I like about the Oilers. Top six is the top six. They're probably the best top six in the league, bar none. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better top six. Again, and that's where the top six is so dominant and the depth drops off. For the second line, he has Hopkins, Draisaitl, and Brown. Not a bad second line. It's got grit, it's got scoring, it's got the playmaker. It's got it all. It's got your traditional, as they say in NHL, +5 line chemistry. The third line is Holloway, McLeod, and Fogle, as I do. The fourth line is a little bit different. He has Matthias Janmark, Brandon Suter, he thinks will be the PTO, Derek Ryan, and Sam Gagner. Now, he is Derek Ryan and Sam Gagner. That can confuse some people. That would mean that either Sam Gagner and Suter are getting contracts, which could be possible if contracts get moved. His first defensive pairing is Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard. He's put Ekholm and Bouchard as the number one guys, Nurse and CC as the number two, Kulak and Broberg. He has Broberg over Desharnais, Broberg being his sixth defenseman and Desharnais being his seventh. We've got a little switcheroony there with me, but hey, time will tell. Training camp is going to be a big thing for the depth guys and the bottom pair, the bottom three guys for defense. Like, training camp's going to say a lot, and I'm going to be paying very close attention to training camp because it's going to be the tell of what's going on. Ooh. So, all that said and done, what do you guys think? Do you guys think this team has a chance to be better? Do you think that they have a chance to be worse? What are your thoughts on it? Like, are they going to exceed expectations of last year and come out of their shell? Can a full year of Ekholm help Bouchard, Nurse? Can CC and Nurse finally get it together and coexist as a defensive unit on the ice and not be a dash every other shift? Or is it just one has to go? Sorry, I got... So, yes. Do you think Nurse will put up 50 points? Is Ekholm going to get a plus 35 season? Warren Fogle, is Janmark going to get points? How many goals can Janmark get? How many points can Janmark get? Is Janmark in for a 20-plus point? Can Derek Ryan get a 20-plus point? I'm looking for the defense to be all pluses. I know that's going to be unrealistic given the ice time that's going to be allocated to each. But even if you're a plus defenseman or a low minus, you've done pretty well for yourself on an 82-game season. Say Brandon Sutter does sign the PTO. Is he gonna play 50 games and be above 50% on the face-off dot? Or do they go the I know what I get with the devil you know and sign Sam Gagner to a contract and he plays 25 games, gets 10 points? To me, if you're signing Sam Gagner and you're gonna play him 25 games, he better get more than 10 points because that's 5 goals, 5 assists. To me personally, like that's just me personally. If you're putting $1 million on a player, or $925 or $725, whatever the league minimum may be, and you're putting it on a player, even if he's fourth line, I think he needs to produce. You can't just sign a guy to be all sentimental. Oh, he's on our team for moral support and locker room guy. That's great. That's all well and good. That's awesome. We need those. We need locker room gems. I get it. But there has to be more. There has to be... We've signed you to a contract to play. You need to play and produce. We can't put our hearts into this, people. Like that's where we need to separate our heart and our heads and know that this team could be and should be a perennial Stanley Cup favorite. Which means you need all 4 lines to produce in one way or another. You need all 4 lines contributing on any given night. You can't have your 4th and 3rd line sleeping on nights. You have to have night in, night out, game in, game out. They need to do something. You can't have nights like last year where it was McDavid was buzzing, but nobody else was around, even close to picking up the rope. Or Draisaitl and McDavid were buzzing and nobody else was there. Because McDavid and Josh are going to have their off nights. They're going to be tired, sore, sick, not 100%. And even at 95%, McDavid and Draisaitl is better than most in the league. But the third and fourth line, the depth role guys need to pick it up this year. I think if they don't pick it up, we're going to have the same problem as last year where we had a problem with depth scoring. And when McDavid and Draisaitl were not on the ice, we didn't have much done offensively. Also, Devin Shore is a name that keeps popping up. Is he going to be an Oiler? Is he not going to be an Oiler? I don't know. Personally, I don't think he's going to be an Oiler, just logistic-wise, roster-wise. I don't see it happening unless, again, contracts are moved out and there's room for him. Does he sign an AHL contract only? I don't know. I am not sure. I know BW thinks he's going to sign a contract. BW thinks he's going to play some games in the NHL. I just don't know if that's feasible logistically wise because of the McLeod and Bouchard contracts. Yes, they were team friendly-ish. Yes, they were good for the Oilers. They signed for 2 years. Yes, that's all well and good, but had they signed less than they got, the Oilers could be more flexible in signing both PTOs and bringing back Devin Shore as well. So that's it. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are. Do you think Gagne makes the roster? Does Sutter make the roster? What does your opening day roster look like? Is it anywhere near what I have or what BW has? Or are we both just out to lunch and after the top six, anybody's game? Could the young kids in the AHL, could they crack the roster? Could they push for a roster spot? Could they push some of the old blood out? Could they facilitate a trade, make Ken Holland make moves to have them play more? I don't know. I think we've got ourselves a good team. I think we have a Stanley Cup caliber winning team. We will see. September's around the corner. Preseason soon. And then we get started for realsies in October. Till then, we'll see you in the next video. As always, my name is Matt for Oilers After Dark. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. And we'll see you soon.